Hi everyone, this is Sherman. Take a look at this fictional electronic learning or e-learning screen. Over the next 10 seconds or so, make a mental list of the items that make it difficult to learn from. One might notice that there is a lot going on here. Multiple images that are unnecessary and may challenge our working memory. Some text is hard to read. One might be unaware of where to click. Nevertheless, these are all problems that will be discussed and rectified during this presentation. So the purpose of this presentation is to discuss Mayer's Chapter 5, Applying the Contiguity Principle. Mayer states that learning gains for electronic learning results from presenting text, narration, and graphics in an integrated and continuous fashion, rather than presenting the same information separately. Separating corresponding words and graphics causes learners to experience a heavier load on their working memory. Thus, as learning designers, we must consider cognitive load theory and not overburden students unnecessarily and cause their learning to suffer. Two continuity principles are discussed in this chapter. The first one focuses on printed words and states that printed words should be placed near graphics for the ease of student learning. The closer the text is to the image it is referring to, the less cognitive overload. One technique to do this is to use the adaptive method of rollover. Rollover involves the user to put their mouse on an image for a pop-up description. The pop-up will be in close proximity to the image so that students can make easy comparisons between the text and graphics. Rollover allows students to examine elements of the screen at their own pace. However, rollover is not always good because the box might disappear as soon as the mouse moves off of it. However, if the pop-ups do not disappear right away, too many pop-ups may open and the user may have craziness on their screen as pop-ups could be everywhere. Nevertheless, continuity violations in e-learning are commonplace. One is to avoid separating text and graphics on scrolling screens without any connection. The fix is to have the graphic and text on the same screen so that the learner knows to associate them together. The problem is to avoid feedback of questions or responses on separate screens when displaying answers. Flipping back and forth between question and answers taxes working memory. So, keep questions and feedback of the answers on the same page, and this will give students a better understanding of why that answer is correct. Avoid giving directions on one screen and then the exercise from those directions on another. Switching back and forth for clarity is not beneficial for learning. Rather, keep directions and the exercise on the same screen. A common problem is to avoid displaying text at the bottom of screens only. Having to scan from text to graphic can cause unnecessary cognitive overload. Instead, place corresponding text near the related graphic as can be seen in example B. The second continuity principle involves synchronizing spoken words with corresponding graphics. When words and pictures are separated from one another on the screen or in time, it can create extraneous processing for students, which can reduce learned information. Humans are sense makers who naturally try to make meaningful relations between words and pictures. Therefore, when words and pictures are integrated, people can hold them together in their working memories and therefore make meaningful connections between them. Avoid separating graphics and narration for static frames and continuous frames. For both instances, have narration coincide with animation or still frames. The learner can more easily make mental connections between corresponding words and graphics. Nevertheless, the pillar of accountability can be seen in the synchronization of spoken words with corresponding graphics, because the pillar of accountability asserts that transparent communication makes all learners more responsive to educational outcomes. Many of us experienced this firsthand with Dr. Chung's 582 class, as his screencast had synchronized narration and corresponding graphics that provided the expectation of assignments. This made life easier for all of us. Because of the positive effect the e-learning screencasting methods of Dr. Chung had, I thought I would adopt the same method for my own capstone project. I plan to provide my students with synchronized directions with graphics that can be assessed anytime should they need help clarifying their student expectations. The other pillar that is present in this chapter is learning. This can be seen as properly designed e-learning environments are student-centered and responsive to the individual differences of all learners. Although my capstone is the creation of an academic escape room and will be completed mostly in person, not online, I will have multiple media slides that will adopt many of these e-learning tips because I recognize how important aligning text, narration, and graphics can be for student learning. Without proper instruction or supporting materials, students will likely fail. So, for this class, my 2 discussion questions are, what experiences, good or bad, with media presentations have you had during electronic learning programs? And this can be during any time of your schooling. And the other question is, how will the discussed continuity rules influence your future e-learning?